All right, so last week I made a video on the Hansu USA Power Bar 45-pound version, and I had mentioned that video that they're actually getting into expanding their portfolio of products from racks to kettlebells to dumbbells, and in this case, bumper plates as well. Now, if you guys know me and been watching my videos for a long time, you will know that I've been partnered with Hansu for a long time, mostly because I really like what they're doing, which is offering good quality equipment at really absurdly low prices. And I've mentioned this in the previous videos. Like, I don't get how they're still in business, but in the case where you're getting good stuff for cheap, it's better to not ask questions, just buy and explain yourself to your wife later. At least that's what I tell myself and helps me sleep at night and not on the couch. So after that last video, they actually reached out and said, hey, we have these colored bumpers that we're selling. We'd love for you to do just a video on them to help get the word out. We know you are not like a CrossFit athlete. We know bumpers aren't your forte necessarily, but we love what you do and we'd like to just send them to you. And I said, sure, go ahead. So they showed up yesterday, unboxed them with, of course, a snap video, which who doesn't like a good snap video?
Look at this. Oh, perfect. Oh my God.
I used them today, but want to give you my feedback. And again, just general impressions and just some insight into them, because even for me, going onto their website and pulling these up, there's literally no information other than just some pictures and a price. So you don't have any information. So hopefully if you're in the market of buying something like this, then this video might help you. I will for sure tell Hansu they need to get their stuff together and put up that information, because a lot of people won't go to YouTube to watch, although they should, because that keeps the lights on here for me. But talking about their colored bumper sets, which there are two of. This is the 370-pound version, which nets you a 55, 45, 35, 25, 15, and a 10. There's also a 260-pound set, which is the same except for the 55 pounds. And this is what you get. And right off the bat, you can tell that these take up a lot of real estate on the barbell, which is why for a powerlifter, I typically don't like bumpers. Now, speaking of bumpers, you might not think I'm a qualified bumper expert, but they don't call me Bumper Basement Brandon for a reason. And that is because my first plates I ever bought for my own home gym, CrossFit Games branded Rogue bumper plates. Yes, that's right. I've been there, I've lived that life, and I've had a handful of bumpers since that point. In fact, if you have a keen eye, you'd probably notice that there is a bumper set that lives in my rack. That's from Gymway. They're elite competition bumpers, which I like. Good to have. And now we've added some color to the family here as well with this pop of red, blue, yellow, green, gray, white. Preferential to that white color with the rest of the gym equipment, at least in this instance. So giving you some feedback on this. And again, they're just general impressions, because a bumper for the most part is hard to mess up. In fact, when I look at these, I think they compare favorably well to the Rogue Echo bumpers, as well as the Rep colored bumpers with some slight differences. So again, because Hansu doesn't really provide you much specs, any specs for that matter, on their website, it's hard to gauge how thick these are relative to the competition. So these are slightly thicker than the Rogue Echo bumpers, and they're slightly thinner than the Rep colored bumper. So kind of right in between. Where they're not in between, however, is the pricing. And again, this is where Hansu really comes and steps up to the plate, and why I like them for a lot of things. Previously, mostly powerlifting. In this case, the 370-pound set retails for $750. Compared to the Rep colored bumpers, which I think is the best comparison you're going to get. Those retail for $950. So these are $200 cheaper. Taking a look at Rogue, you're looking at around $950 to $1,100, depending on if you're looking at the colored bumpers, the version you're looking at, maybe you're looking at the Fleck plates, but all similar in style and price and aesthetics. They're still $200 less than all of the competition, despite the quality being roughly the same. Now, where Hansu also really helps out is there are discount codes available. Hopefully you know by now, code BASEMENT will save you 10% off. So this drops another $75 off the price. So it's like $675 or so. I'm sure I'll throw a screenshot on the screen to show you the cart price, which includes free shipping. So these are almost $300 cheaper than the most comparable options from some of the bigger brands that you're more familiar with out there. Now, if you follow the Home Gym Game, and are a member of like the Home Gym Garage Gym Reviews Facebook page, which I'm a moderator of, so if I've ever banned you, I'm sorry in advance. But a lot of people have been posting recently about the Everyday Essentials bumpers, which are commonly referred to as like the Amazon or the Walmart version of the bumper. Sometimes you can get those for really cheap. like $1 a pound. A lot of people just kind of flood, buy a bunch of those and then resell them for slight markups. The problem is in that case, you oftentimes get what you pay for, meaning when people get them, they notice that the actual construction of the bumper isn't necessarily ideal. Their ridges are all over the place. There's cuts, there's gouges, there's material on here that rubs off and continues to rub off. There's things that break like the hubs. So they're cheaper bumpers for a reason, but I understand that some people would rather go that route for cheap and save money versus spend a little bit more, which is why these things are so appealing to me. They hit that sweet spot of quality, but also affordability. Now, when I take a look at these, they are pretty phenomenal in terms of the construction. I was really surprised with them. I was expecting more of the everyday essentials type quality given the price point. And I got to say, they exceeded my expectations by far. The colors on these really pop. The seams on all of these bumpers are really clean. The only exception, however, though, are these 10-pound plates. So although they look pretty good from afar, when you get up close and start looking at the rims, there is just, I don't know what to call it, but there's a little bit of bumping. It's not as clean. Obviously the white is going to show more dirt, but I found those on both pairs of the 10s that I have. It's just not as clean of a finish as the other ones. And also, like other 10-pound bumper plates or 5 kg bumper plates that are out there, these things can give you a little bit of problems if you're not careful. And what I mean by that is, typically speaking, the well-known brands out there will say, hey, for 10-pound plates, do not drop these by themselves. And that is because of their thickness. It can lead to what we call tacoing. And in fact, if I take this off and give it some play with my hands, and even though they're strong hands, admittedly, there is a lot of flex on this, and I would not actually use these by themselves on a barbell, but I know you're all jacked and super strong and wouldn't do that anyways. But again, going back to the fact that Hansu doesn't have any information on their site, it does not say that, but I would definitely not use these by themselves. Now, I did use these for bench today, and as I already said, these things are pretty thick, as are most bumper plates. Again, I would put these kind of in the middle of the Rogue and the Rep ones. And you might think, well, how is that test really going to show us anything other than it takes up a lot of space on a bar? So what I also did is I just loaded at 135. I cleaned it up as best as I could. Again, power lifter, not a weightlifter here, and just dropped it from shoulder height. And what I noticed was hardly any bounce and a really satisfying thud. When you combine the thickness of these bumpers and the material they're made out of, as well as this construction and tolerance of this bar, which I talked about in the barbell review, it was just really satisfying to drop on my floor. So I don't have any really qualms about that or any issues I could potentially see outside of the 10s themselves. Again, I would not use those in a solo setting. So what is my overall thoughts on these and recommendations? Well, again, if you're looking for some decent bumpers, number one, make sure you're okay with the width on here, because if you're going with multiple things, then that's going to add a lot of real estate or take up a lot of real estate on the bar. This is a very good priced one. The downside, though, however, is number one, the 10s aren't in the same quality, in my opinion, as the rest, as well as of right now, you can only buy these in sets. So these would be a really good starter set because you could get that 260-pound set or the 370-pound set and get one of every flavor, if you will. But if you wanted multiple 55s or multiple 45s at this time, I don't believe they're selling them separately, which if you're OCD about your plates and wanting to complete a larger set, you may run into issues with. Let me know what you think about these in the comment section below. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.